Good evening, friends, film fans, boys and girls. Just out of the cinema for the second time today. I saw Toy Story 4 this morning. I'm going to talk about that tomorrow. Right now, I'm going to give gut reaction to what I just saw, which is a horror film called Brightburn. Imagine if Superman was 12 and a bit of a shit. That's Brightburn. I just swore. I've tried to avoid swearing on these videos, although I'm not entirely sure why, because I've got a gob like a sailor quite a lot of the time. That's the basic premise. Couple, married, desperate for a baby. Lo and behold, one falls to earth. They take him in. All is well until he gets to 12, and then all hell breaks loose. Yeah, that's it in a nutshell. It's good. It's alright. I enjoyed it. It felt a little bit predictable. It was exceptionally violent. Like, they really went for it with the old gory violence and injuries and stuff. If you don't enjoy seeing people pull shards of glass out of their own eyeball, then maybe give this one a swerve. It starred Elizabeth Banks, who I think is wonderful. Seen her in loads of stuff. The standout for me will always be her as Effie Trinket in the Hunger Games films, because I think she embodied Effie perfectly. But she's one of these actresses where everything she's in, she's solid, really good at comedy. I thought she played this really well. It was interesting watching it as a parent and thinking about how I would feel, and I don't know what infertility feels like. I can't even imagine. I've got 2 children and they are wonderful, and I can't imagine what it must feel like to want one so badly and for whatever reason not be able to make that dream come true. And I'm sure if I was in that situation and a baby fell out of the sky in a spaceship, I'd be thrilled to bits. And she really demonstrated that conflict between I am his mother and I will do anything to protect him, but as the evidence mounts up that perhaps he's not quite what they thought he was or what he has been for the first 12 years of his life. Yeah, I could see that real struggle for her to sort of decide which way she was going to go. The dad, played by, I looked him up, David Denman, didn't recognise him, good performance. He's a little bit quicker to turn on his adopted son. I thought, I mean, it was good, and it was a slow build, so, you know, there was hints, suggestions that perhaps he wasn't right before he went full bananas and started killing people left, right and centre. For some reason, I find the notion of a human child gone bad more unsettling than an alien child, because it's kind of just, that's who he is. Maybe that's how they roll where he comes from. We don't know, because we don't know where he came from. I mean, there really are those Superman parallels, because it's set in a small town called Brightburn in Kansas, and it's all very you know, wide open spaces in middle America and small towns and all that sort of stuff. And you've got that sort of isolation and separation from sort of the outside world. But yeah, he's an alien and he goes wrong, and that's about it. It was edgy, it was creepy in places, there were some good scares. Passable, solid, I don't know. Yeah, it was good. It was good. I thought the actor playing Brandon Breyer, that was his name, not Brendan, Brandon Breyer. I've totally forgotten the actor's name, and I'm really annoyed at myself because I did look it up. Very good performance from him. Very creepy, very good at doing sort of cold and detached, and yeah, alien. Like, I don't quite understand these feelings, or I don't know how I'm supposed to act in this situation because I am not from this planet. I thought he pulled that off really well. One thing I will say before I go, as to whether or not you should see it if you want. It's good, it's alright, it's not dreadful. Kept me engaged. It's only an hour and a half long. That's always a blessed relief when a film isn't too long. But it got me thinking. I'm conscious that the light's going to go off in the car. It got me thinking about creepy kid films. Creepy kid films that you may not have seen that I quite like. So, I'm going to throw two at you. Depending on what level of film nerd you are, the original version of The Omen, you might go, of course I've seen that. It's a classic. It's a stone cold 70s classic, but maybe you haven't. It is a bit 70s, but it's superb. And I think, have I read the book? Yeah, I think I have. I've read the original book and I've seen the film several times. I love 70s horror. The kid who plays Damien's so creepy. And it is really tense and uncomfortable, and yeah, I just love it. I think it's a great film. There's so much 70s horror that is still superb today. But definitely, if you've never seen The Omen, the original one, then do check that out. And the other one is a total random curveball throwback. There was a film made in 1993, and I had to hunt it down because I am a nerd. But early 90s, I was obsessed with Macaulay Culkin. Of course I was. He's like a year older than me, and I saw him in Home Alone, and then I saw him in My Girl, and I just loved him. And I remember reading about this film he'd made, and there was a big hoo-ha about it shouldn't be released because he plays a child killer. And I did eventually see it. I think it eventually popped up in Blockbuster that I used to frequent. But it's really good. I think it's really good. I haven't seen it for a very long time, but the sort of premise, I keep using the word premise a lot. The premise of that one is Elijah Wood goes to stay with his aunt and uncle and cousins because something tragic has happened in his family, maybe? I forget. But anyway, he goes to stay with them, and his cousin is roughly the same age as him, the cousin played by Macaulay Culkin, and it just becomes increasingly obvious to Elijah Wood's character that these cousins are wrong. But again, it's tense and it's edgy and it builds, and the reason there was a to-do was because the whole world was obsessed with Macaulay Culkin at the time and how cute he was and how talented he was, and you know how good he was at those pithy one-liners. And you couldn't have him playing a child killer because that's just outrageous. But he was really good in it because he is genuinely, I think personally, a really good actor. And yeah, it's just, you might not have ever heard of it. Even if you've heard of it, you might never have seen it. If you ever get the chance, I can't promise it's aged well. But if you want to see a really young, adorable Elijah Wood playing opposite a really young, adorable, but also terrifying Macaulay Culkin, hunt out The Good Son. God knows where you'd find it. I think that's it from me for this evening. It's too long, rambling on. So Brightburn was okay. I enjoyed it, passable. Next, well, that'll be Toy Story 4, which I saw this morning, but I will review tomorrow. Thank you for watching as always. Katie out.